Hello, fellow educators. Welcome to the Classroom Behaviour Solutions podcast, the podcast that gives you weekly scientifically grounded and evidence-based solutions to your behaviour dilemmas, providing a blueprint to developing flexible behaviour solutions that really work for your individual pupils, classes, or even whole school environments. If you're a teacher, a Senko, or even a school leader with a passion for supporting pupil behaviour in a way that is positive and effective, this podcast is for you. My name is Adam Dean, and I'm your host. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Classroom Behaviour Solutions. So this week we're going to spend a bit of time talking about being a behaviour detective. So a couple of episodes ago, we talked about the different functions of behaviour, and we've spent a little bit of time looking at how to address particular functions, and we're going to do a little bit more of that further down the line. But today I want to talk about how do you find out what the function or usually functions of a behaviour are, and also how do we narrow down sort of what the antecedent, the thing that comes before the behaviour is, so that we know if we need to change anything. So, the most common and useful way to get an idea of what the function of a behaviour is ABC data. Now, ABC stands for antecedent, behaviour, consequence. So, essentially, what you need is a piece of A4 paper. You need it landscape. You need one column that says antecedent, one column that says behaviour, one column that says consequence. And all we're going to do is, for a week, couple of weeks maybe, we're going to fill that in. Now, what's really, really important is that we make sure that what we're writing is objective and accurate. So we need to write the antecedent shouldn't be something that's emotive. It needs to be given maths work. That's fine. Ask to transition to a particular place. Something along those lines. Something nice and easy to interpret. The behaviour, if you're looking at something specific for a particular behaviour, then it may be that you're just going to look at that particular behaviour. So it can be pre-filled in, through table, called out, shouted, verbal abuse. You can save yourself a little bit of time here. If you are looking at several different behaviours, then you can just have a little tick sheet. You can just have the four behaviours that you're looking at, and whoever's filling it in just ticks that particular box. Consequence. Consequence doesn't mean punishment. Lots of people think it means punishment. It just means what happened next. So if we're in a situation where we're recording ABC data, we ask little Johnny, here's little Johnny again, to do some maths work. Little Johnny throws his pencil and marches out of the room. The consequence there is that Johnny left the room. Nice and straightforward. So antecedent, Johnny asked to do maths. Behaviour, threw pencil, shouted. Consequence, left room. Perhaps also we need to note other pupils laughed. Something along those lines. That's going to then give us an idea, because if we look back at that behaviour data, then we can see that actually the antecedent there was being given maths work. The behaviour is the behaviour we're looking at. The consequence was a mixture of escape and social peer attention. So if we record data for a couple of weeks and we see that every single time this particular behaviour occurs, it's done in a context of being given work, or perhaps even specifically maths work, and it results in somehow escaping that work and possibly social attention, then we've got an idea of what the function of that behaviour could be. And then we can start building some sort of intervention around it. Now, it's really important that we don't just look at one example of this. We do this for at least a week, a couple of weeks. We get lots of different examples. And personally, I'd add a few other columns to this as well. So I'd be adding a column for time so that we know when it happened. I'd be adding a column potentially for location, so classroom, hall, lunch, etc. I'd be adding a column for activity. Again, perhaps it's lunch, PE lesson, or maybe it's a PE lesson, but it's a theory PE lesson. It's worth knowing these sorts of things. And then, depending on the individual, you might want to add some additional. So you might want to add noise level. If you're working with a pupil on the autism spectrum who has some sound sensitivity, then it could be that one of the behaviors you're seeing is an escape behavior because the environment's too noisy. That sort of detail can be really useful. Now, if you do that for a couple of weeks, then you're going to get a good picture of what the function of that particular, or again, functions of that particular behavior are. So, okay, in summary, let's play behavior detective. How do we find out what the function or functions of behavior can be? Now, this is only a first step. Just to be clear, this is only a first step. It can get a lot more complicated, but I want to start with something relatively straightforward. So the way we're going to do behavior detective is ABC chart, antecedent, behavior, consequence. We're going to add a couple of extra columns, including time. By the way, time is so that we can see if it happens around the same sort of time every day. Maybe is it linked to tiredness? Is it linked to hunger? There's all these additional factors, all these sort of internal events that could be going on that we need to know about. If it's something to do with, I'm just thinking of additional columns that you might want to add. Things like if they're staying with a particular parent, maybe if they stay with different parents on different days, it might be worth seeing if their behavior is different on days when they're staying with different parents, etc. Basically, the more detail you can get, and then you collect all of that data together and you spend some time looking at that with a colleague and see if you can start to pick apart the antecedents, so the things that make the behavior more likely to occur. So if it's after lunch, is it more likely to occur because they're tired, or something along those lines? And then the consequence, we can start to see the reason why. Okay. Hopefully that's really helpful. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Classroom Behaviour Solutions podcast. To make sure you don't miss future episodes, click the subscribe button and share this podcast with others. The more people that listen, the more help I can provide. To learn more and to find our social media pages, visit www.classroombehaviorsolutions.com. See you next time on the Classroom Behaviour Solutions podcast. Thank you.